They all want to teach you how to be a wholesaler. I can teach you how to be a wholesaler in 15 minutes. And I won't charge you 40,000, maybe 30, but I want 40. So understand there's different aspects to this business. If you have no money, you have to be somewhat creative. I've got to check and see. I've got a slide that I have put in here about a guy that has $100,000 cash. He wanted to buy a house to live in. And how I explained it to him, that was a horrible idea, the way he wanted to do it, pay cash for a house to live in. And I'm going to try and make sure I've got it in here. This is something I think is very important. This is in the back of your book, and I'm upset with them because the color stinks. Where they had that printed, it'll be in the back cover of your book. This is what I call being a complete real estate investor. You have an inner circle of people you need. These are people you need to start putting in place immediately. You need a mentor. You need financial friends. You need a real estate attorney, a title company, an insurance agent, private lenders, so critical. A licensed contractor, a savvy real estate agent. Then you've got an outer circle, your Roth IRA custodian, an appraiser, a rental management company, a credit repair company. What do you need a credit repair company for? Right. If I'm going to sell a property, I may do a rent own until you get your credit cleaned up, but I need that credit repair company to fix your credit if I want cash, which you have to understand, I do not want cash. Last thing in this world I want is you to pay me off and give me all that cash. Why? Taxes are going to kill me. And that's money wasted on government programs that don't benefit my family one iota. That's money I worked for that I can never reinvest or use to benefit my life. It's money gone. Now I know we have to pay taxes, but I want to minimize what I legally owe. So you need office staff, 1031 facilitator, internet marketing people, an answering service. Very, very important that you get these people in place as quick as you can. Some of us been around forever, have built this team. We have these people in place, but to make your machine run smoother, I just wanted to mention this because, you know, all the traveling gurus tell you how easy it is to make $1 million, how to get rich in real estate. They never tell you, you need these people. You need these people to do your business. Without them, you're going to be so limited. You're going to hunt and peck and try and find these people. So I wanted to put that out. Build your team. Seller financing, that's what this is about, has been around since biblical days. Back in biblical days, when you bought something from someone, who did you pay? The person you bought it from, right? They didn't have credit cards back then. So today, it works just as well as it did in biblical days, and it'll work 1,000 years from now. It's a constant. It doesn't fluctuate with market conditions and economic cycles. That's the one thing you want to remember. Seller financing works anytime, any place, on any kind of property. I don't care if you're buying a skyscraper. I don't care if you're buying a mobile home park or a single family house or an office building. Seller financing works. It doesn't matter. See, the latest flavor of the month now is being a wholesaler. That's going to last for a while, and then it's going to be something else. It usually runs in 2, 3, 4-year cycles of what's popular. Subject to has been a big one. People ask me, you're going to talk about lease options and subject to? That's a little bitty piece of being an investor, not a big piece. It's a little bitty piece. So understand, we're going to go over that, but it's not, it's just understand seller financing is a constant, never changes, because it's between you and a seller, not the financial markets. I'm finding few people actually know what seller financing is. See, money's been too available. You can get money anywhere you want. Well, is that going to last forever? I can remember not too long ago, you couldn't get money, save your life, unless you had specific assets to back it up. But some of the people that I teach don't have significant assets to back up getting that money, collateral. So a lot of people, because money is easy to get, and they just know money will just fall out of the sky on them. The old adage, if it's a good deal, the money will find you. Well, that's only if you have the people on that circle. You can't hide in your bathroom and expect people to come knocking on the bathroom door offering you money. As more and more people learn and accept any situation, more and more people will be willing to do the same. It's our job to teach people, and I mean sellers. I do not believe in offering a seller cash up front. How many of you guys know Robin Thompson? Okay, I love Robin. I teach at all of her boot camps. She makes multiple offers. She offers cash first. Then she does seller financing, no interest. And then she'll do like a split funded offer. I never put the seed in their head, I'm going to give them cash. So I'll do seller financing, no interest, seller financing with interest, split funded, some now, the rest later, a lease option, an option, cash, but that cash offer might be right down around my shoelaces, if you know what I mean. Take what you want. I can give you, see when I do, and we're going to go through this, I can give you seller financing at 0 interest if your property is paid for. As long as it's paid for and you don't have underlying financing that I would have to match, I can do whatever. If you're a seller, you can accept bubble gum, if that's what turns you on. To me, I use the example, some of you that have ever heard me speak, you have a $100,000 house, it rents for $1,000 a month. I'll give you $1 million for it if you'll take $20 a month until paid. You understand? Price or terms. We're going to talk a lot about price or terms. Any questions? Am I boring you to death? Okay. It's our job to educate these people. Over the next 4 days, we're going to cover 6 topics. Finding the deal. Your marketing is going to be the key. Analyzing the deal. Creating great deals where no deal seems to exist. That's why I wanted Pete to come in. Pete can take a sow's ear and turn it into a silk purse simply by the way he structures deals. He takes people that have severe tax consequences and he will structure deals to save them a lot of tax legally. It's how you structure the deal. And that's one of the things I want you to learn, because you're going to meet people out there that if they get paid cash, they're going to have severe taxing consequences, and you've got to convince them they don't want cash. You got to save them from themselves and explain what you're offering is much better. Knowing without a doubt how to negotiate the best deals. Negotiation is critical. Being able to sit down and talk about it. And that's you on the kingdom. Did you ever hear me say, most young people are in a hurry? And people that have free and clear houses want to get you out of the house as quick as they can if you're in a hurry. How can you expect them to believe that you're going to pay them every month if you don't build that rapport? I talk about the 4-bedroom and 3-bedroom house out in Winter Haven that I went to buy. The people that owned it lived in Chicago. They flew here to meet with my wife and I. We spent 5 hours talking about everything under the sun before we ever mentioned the houses. My wife was livid. She was, what are we doing here? Well, okay, here's the thing. I wanted them to carry the financing. I wanted to pay them every month. I had to make them know that I was a good family man. I pay my bills. You know, I'm down to earth. I'm stable. I'm structured. You have to do that. So don't be in a hurry. I'm going to tell you, I made a lot of money for that 5 hours. So building that rapport with the seller is going to be critical. If you can't do that and you still want to do it all through a real estate agent, that's your prerogative. This is an alternative that can make you a lot of money. How many realtors do I have in the room? Put them up high. Don't be ashamed. How many? I didn't see. Hold them up high so I can see. Okay, out. You guys are out of here. No, I'm just joking. People that make offers through real estate agents who don't know what they're doing. The people in this room, that's a different breed. But just real estate agents. I always say real estate agents don't know anything about real estate. They're great salespeople, but they don't know anything about real estate as a business. If they did, they wouldn't work for tips, right? They'd work for profit checks. Gail, I'm so disappointed in you. Okay. No, if when you can work both sides of the coin, that's great. Now, the other thing I want to get out of the way, I don't think there's one good deal in the MLS as listed. Anybody disagree with me? It's okay to disagree with me. You don't. You don't agree? Okay. Here's why I say that. Let's think of the MLS as a big bowl. Okay? The properties are written on a 3x5 card. They're thrown in the bowl. The big players, they come through immediately when something's listed. They pick out the good deals. So anything I look at, I consider to be leftovers. Now you notice I said as listed. Why? Why do I say that? Realtors want you to pay cash as much as possible because it affects their commission, right? Are you a realtor? No. Okay. So most real estate agents who don't know anything about people like us try to keep us away from their clients, right? Why? Because we are evil devils and we just go around screwing people and not pay them and trash the properties. Banks never harm anybody, do they? Does anybody remember back about 2005 and 6 when the government told the banks, you will lend to people you know cannot pay the money back or you will lose federal funding? Anybody remember that? You remember all the low-income people that lost their homes because of the damn banks? And now, or I don't know how the new administration is going to handle it, but the old, before they left, were starting to do it again. Isn't that wonderful? Harm the people that need it the most. See, that stinks. So just understand, if I can get FaceTime with that seller so I can structure a deal that'll be good for both of us, You see, if they don't live in the house, and that's the one thing I wanted to mention, I do free and clear. Non-owner occupied. Write that down. Non-owner occupied. Here's why. I don't care if they live next door, but because they don't live in it, if they get all cash, they're going to get killed in taxes. They not only have to recapture all the depreciation they've taken, but they got to pay the capital gains all in the year of the sale. And then what are they going to do with the money that's left over? Put it in the bank at less than 1%? Stinko. If you bought your first house when you're 30 years old, you paid for it for 30 years. How old are you? This is a tough question. You're 60. Okay, if you fought with tenants and toilets for 30 years, spent your summer painting the house, every time a tenant moved out, you dumped money into fixing it, is there the slightest chance that you held that property for some type of a retirement? If they get cash because they don't live in it, and then they pay all those taxes, and what's left they put in the bank at less than 1%, is not much of a retirement. You see, I can give them terms and pay them like it was an annuity, pay them every month. I can give them 2, 3, 4, 5, 6% interest. But it has to balance out with the price or the terms of the sale. I never say 6%, but let's say they were getting 1%. I will say, is there any reason you wouldn't rather accept 6 times as much interest? Or if they're getting 0.5%, I'd say 12 times as much interest. I don't mention the figure, I say so many times. Which sounds bigger? Yeah, 12 times. It's a good negotiating point. You're dealing with people. Most of them are not savvy. They're smart, don't get me wrong, especially older people. They've lived through a lot. They understand. And I also tell the young people, leave your laptop, your iPad, anything electronic in the car. Because older people don't know what you're doing. Did you ever, well, my wife and I went to Cheesecake Factory the other day. We had an iced tea. So we go to pay our bill. And we go up to the register, and the waitress is, she did about 12 times. And I'm starting to think, whoa, what's going on here? Well, you see, that's what happens when you're dealing with older people. When you do the numbers, they have no idea what you're doing. You see, they're not computer savvy. Some of the older people have a computer, but I found that most of them only use it to play solitaire and send emails to the kids and grandkids. They are not savvy like people that use it all the time. They're threatened. When you do the numbers, I've got a letter that I usually bring to the boot camp of an old man that had 3 lots. He had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house and a mobile home and a vacant lot. He wanted me, from one of my letters, he wanted me to come and buy his property. He only wanted $25,000. So I'm thinking, boy, there's got to be something wrong with this deal. Well, I got there, the house, the roof had fallen in. It was a concrete block house. The walls were there, but everything caved in. The mobile home was, I think, a 1971 single wide, 1 bedroom. And when I got there, the old man said, I want $25,000. And I said, okay. He said, the neighbor lives back behind us. He offered me, he'd give me 25, he'd give me 15 down if I'd carry the other 10. And I said, well, why didn't you sell to him? Because I don't like him. Oh, okay. So we walked around and then we went to sit down. Those of you that got the laminated sheets, did you see the one with the formulas on it? Okay, I use those formulas, but what I've done is I have copied each individual one and kind of blown them up so that whatever one I want to use with the seller. So I gave Bob, it was his name, my old green solar calculator I found in a parking lot. It's all scuffed up. Hey, they cost $3. I'm not wasting money. I gave him the calculator and an ink pen. And I said, Bob, how much are the taxes here? He went and got the paperwork. He looked at it. I said, divide that number by 12 and put that number right here in this box. How much is the insurance? Divide it by 12, put it in this box. I made him do the numbers. Why did I make him do the numbers? See, when I do the numbers, they're suspect. When they do the numbers, they're fact, right? Finally, it got to the point I said, Bob, I'm not even going to make you an offer. He was an old man. He had just bought a 1931 Model A, and he was going to drive that with his belongings to Iowa to be with his niece to live out the rest of his years. I said, I'm not even going to make you an offer. I want you to make me an offer. No, I'm not going to. I don't want to insult you. You can insult me. I said, Bob, I couldn't give you more than $7,000, and here's why. I got to tear down the old house. I got to clean it up. Got to get permits. That mobile home, I can't rent it. You and your wife lived there. She passed away last year, but nobody's going to want to move into that one bedroom. The only good thing was it had a brand new septic system with the mound of dirt in the backyard. So it was brand new. I said, I couldn't give you more than $7,000 at $200 a month. He said, I'll take it. I said, no, Bob. No, I'm not going to do it. I won't buy it. This was in Lakeland, Walter. And he said, I said to him, why you won't sell it to them and get 15 cash? Why would you sell it to me for 200? He said, I got 3 other pensions. That $200, I'll be able to live just fine. I didn't buy it. That was nothing down, just $200 a month until paid, no interest. We left and my wife said, well, that was a real good deal, stupid. I said, why? She said, why didn't you buy it, turn around and sell it to the neighbor, get the 15 cash, take payments on the 10? Oh. See, I was more worried about insulting the old man. I will not do that. I won't take advantage of old people. Someday I'll be old. And I don't want you guys taking advantage of me. So you got to know how to negotiate the best deals. How to structure deals that will maximize your profit. Is that possible? See, when you pay cash, you get so much. But we can structure deals that we can maximize our profits. We can take more profit away. The key to this weekend is understand to inject time into the formula. If you can inject time, y'all look pretty young to me, you have time left. You can still flip your houses, fix and sell retail, wholesale, but you got to put some deals away or you'll never have any wealth. I know people think they're going to flip houses and get rich because that's what the guy on TV said. And all I can say is horse. Sorry, Todd, I didn't mean to blow up. No, see, because you pay the highest taxes, it's a job. You're a hamster on a wheel. You just got to keep doing more and more and more and more deals. And what do you do with the money? You pay some bills, you survive, but then you got to do another deal, another deal. That's okay to get started. That's okay even when you have money. But don't make that your only way of doing the business, or you're a one-trick pony. I don't like one-trick ponies. What I believe is buy yourself a base of rental properties. Now, you don't want to be a landlord, I understand. Then hire management. Anybody here ever planted a garden? Did you just walk out and grab an ear of sweet corn and start eating it in your backyard? Or did you plant a seed first? Real estate to create wealth is no different. To create wealth, you plant seeds today that someone else gets up every day to go to work to earn money to give you in the form of rent to pay for those assets. If those assets don't make you a dime of cash flow, you'll still get tax benefits. The mortgages are being paid down. You're building equity. They're appreciating in value. They go up in value. So are you really losing? No. But the point is, get them planted. Get yourself 20, 30 of those rentals. Even if you don't want to touch them, let them grow. Someday, when the tenants have paid them off, you're going to look like a genius and you're going to have one hell of a nice retirement program. Now, about 6 months ago, I signed up my oldest student, 86 years old. He's not worried about creating wealth for him. He has to have a reason to get out of bed in the morning. He's got kids, grandkids, and great-grandkids that he wants to help. I admire him a lot. He now has a reason to get up. He's got a reason to live, and he'll live until the day he drops, happy, because he's doing something for a future generation. That's what I'm trying to do. You know, people ask me, well, I'm almost 70. I'll be 69 in July. Why are you still doing what you do? I've got 6 kids, 16 grandkids, so far 3 great-grandkids, and they all are up in Michigan where everybody has to work in a factory. They all have to have a job to survive. I've got to break that cycle. I have to. Because they're limited to the $12 an hour they make. I've got to show them that there's more better. My one grandson that'll be graduating in June, he's like the 5th or 6th one that have graduated, but he's a brilliant boy, and his mom said, Adam, you're not studying up to your potential. Why are your grades not as good as they should be? She said, you're never going to get into a good college. He said, I'm not going to go to college. She said, you're not going to go to college? What are you going to do? He said, as soon as I graduate, I'm headed to Florida. I'm going to work with Grandpa. Smart boy. See, there's no ceiling on what we can do. Zero ceiling. It's up to you to what you can do. I'm going to help that kid. And I hope his mom comes too when the other 2 graduate that are a little bit younger. She's my right arm. That's my oldest daughter. So I want to help my family. That's the only way I can do it. You got to keep the house or flip it. What are you going to do with it? Now, that's one of the things I said you guys could call me. The first thing I'm going to ask you, I don't want to hear about the damned house. The one thing I want you to tell me first off is, what do you plan to do with the house if you buy it? You see, there's a difference. Keeper houses and fix and sell houses. The way you structure your offer is going to be totally different. The way you rehab the properties, totally different. I want to know what you're going to do with the house. I want to know that before I hear about the house. Because to me, it's just a bunch of wood, brick, and mortar. So I want to know what you plan to do, and then we'll talk about it. But without that, what are we talking about? Nothing. Yes?
Earlier on, you mentioned when you're talking to your sellers who are, you explained the
Greg,
consequences.
talk louder.
We're talking about the tax consequences.
Yes.
Could you just repeat, like if the pre-clear owner occupant sells the house, what are the tax consequences?
All right.
Tax, capital gains. You mentioned a couple of
Good. Thanks for asking. You see, if they live in the house, I'm not interested any house, no matter what it is, if they live in it. That's not really true, but I don't want those houses. Here's why. If they've lived in it any 2 of the last 5 years, IRS Section 121 says that a single person can take up to $250,000 of their gain tax-free. A couple can take up to $500,000 tax-free. See, they just took away my negotiating point. But if they don't live in it, I don't care if they live next door. Now they're going to get killed in taxes. They've got to recapture all the depreciation that they've taken over 27.5 years. In other words, they take what they paid for it, divide it by 27.5. They deduct that much every year off the property. That the day they sell it, they must pay the tax on that money. Then they got to pay the capital gains, the difference between what they paid for it and what they sold it for. Now, they kept it 1 year and 1 day, it was 15%. If you sold it 1 day before owning it for 1 full year, it was 20%. That's a hell of a chunk. So my negotiating point, they still have to recapture the depreciation. But if they'll take payments from me, they only pay the income tax or the capital gains on the 12 payments they receive in any calendar year. So do you see the savings? Now they get payments, but they don't have that huge tax burden. Any questions?
So why 2 to 5 years? I'm still trying to see.
You got to speak up.
Why 2 to 5 years?
That's what the IRS says.
Just the code for that.
That's IRS Section 121.
Okay.
And then how to write killer offers that make sense and make money. Anybody can make an offer. I like to have 5 or 6 prepared. So my first offer, if the seller says no, I've got a second. If they say no to that, I have a third. If they say no to that, I have a fourth, a fifth, a sixth. See, that's the important thing. When you make a cash offer, what happens when the seller says no? What do? You raise the price. What happens when they say no a second time? You walk away. You leave a great deal. Well, see, when I make an offer, I don't offer the cash, but I've got several ways that I can buy that house. They may not accept any one of them as proposed, but it may start a conversation that leads to a deal that's good for both of us. Make sense? All right. 5 steps of buying real estate without ever stepping into a bank. You got to find motivated sellers that'll give you seller financing terms. This is a seller financing training, folks. You're going to hear the word a lot. Are they out there? There's twice as many free and clear property owners as there are properties in foreclosure in this country. Over twice as many. You can't believe almost half the houses in this country are free and clear. That's statistical. Because all you ever hear on the news is foreclosures. Well, I don't want a foreclosure. I'll explain that later. Evaluate properties based on either getting price or terms. Remember I said I give you $1 million for your $100,000 house if you'll take $20 a month until paid. I don't care what the price is. Negotiate for profit from a position of power. How do you negotiate from a position of power? Well, yeah, but what I'm saying, that seller has one house to sell. I have thousands to look at. Who's in control? I never let them know I'm in control, but I'm in control. I'm trying to finish up my negotiating course that I've written. I just keep adding stuff to it. I don't know if it'll ever get done. It's not some study done by Harvard. It's what I've done at kitchen tables over the last 37 years. Little things. One of them is when you're sitting at the kitchen table, always at the kitchen table or at McDonald's. Why McDonald's? Why do I love McDonald's? Well, I can get a 74-cent soft drink and refill all day. No. The reason I like McDonald's is because everybody knows where a McDonald's is. You can get a little bit of privacy in most cases, but it's easy for people to meet you there. Somebody said to me, well, how about a Starbucks? Oh yeah, 3 of us could get into a Starbucks. Yeah, that's about all the room there is in most of them. They're little. And besides that, I'm opposed to Starbucks anyway, because I'm old and cranky. No, Panera Bread, if you want to plug in your computer, if you get one that doesn't have outlets all over the place. I went into a Panera Bread yesterday to work. Every outlet was taken, all 4 of them in the whole store. So anyway, negotiating, what I was going to say, when you're sitting at a kitchen table, if one of the sellers stand up, stop negotiating. Are they trying to intimidate you? Standing over the top of you? Subconsciously, consciously, I don't care. They take over the position of power when they stand over you. The minute they stand up, start talking about fishing, hunting, skiing, recipes, the grandkids. When they sit down, then go back to negotiating. You have to stay in a position of power. I learned that. I've had people, they'll stand up and they'll stand side of the table. Well, I can't watch them up here and the other one down here because they send signals with their eyes, facial expressions. I can't have that. I got to have them on the same level so I can, when he looks at her or whoever, and they do something with their eyes, I can see it. And I know they're trying to communicate. They're trying to kick each other under the table, so I put my leg out. Been there, done it, folks. And whoever mentions price first loses. I went to a house in St. Petersburg. We negotiated and they wouldn't give me a price. And I finally got enough. And I said, all right, I'll give you $40,000 for the house. They said, we'll take it. Well, so I knew I had just stepped in it. And after we signed the papers, the wife said, can you imagine that? And we were willing to take 30 for it. Well, that shows how stupid I am. You never mention price first. Now, if they won't mention price, I'll say, well, how much are you asking? And then I'll just sit there and look at them and look at them and look at them. Did you know silence is deafening? Eventually they get fidgety. If they make me mention price, I'll say, I'll give you $100 for your house. No, well, I wouldn't do that. Well, then what will you take? See, you got to break that ice. We're going to go through negotiating a little bit later. Write killer offers that will get accepted. How do you write offers that will get accepted?
Find out what they need.
And give them what they want. Now, we're not going to mention this tonight when Pete gets here. This is a story about a deal Pete tried to do for over 20 years. He came from Beverly, Massachusetts. And every year he'd go home to visit his family, and there was a property he wanted to buy there. So every year when he'd go to visit, he'd make an offer. Next year, he'd make a different offer. The next year, a different offer. He did that for over 20 years. Finally, he goes back and he said, let's make an offer on that property. And the guy said, no, Pete, I sold it. Pete said, what do you mean you sold it? I've been trying to buy that for 20 years. He said, why did you sell it to them? And the guy said, because he offered me what I wanted. Pete said, what did you want? I thought I offered you everything. No, The guy said, we bought that house years and years ago so that it would be paid off. And then on our 50th wedding anniversary, we wanted somebody to give us $6,000 every year so we could take a luxury cruise. So every June 1st, the guy that bought the house had to make one check out for $6,000 to give to him so they could take a cruise for the rest of their life. That's what they wanted. But see, Pete never asked. Boy, I picked up on that when he taught us that one. Find out what they want. It's not cash. People that tell you they want cash are lying to you. Nobody wants cash. Do you? You want cash? You're lying. Here's why. Cash is nothing but paper with green ink on it. So if I gave you cash, you're telling me you're going to pile it up, put a glass dome over it. I'm going to go enjoy your house, rent it, make money. I'm going to come back in a year and we're going to each get a cup of coffee. We're going to sit down. We're just going to look at the money, right? You said you wanted cash.
Oh, you mean for a house? Okay.
I'm buying your house. I'm giving you cash. You want cash.
I want cash for that.
Oh,
I thought you just meant.
no. See, nobody wants cash. They want what the cash can do for them. So you got to find out what they need and you can supply that to them instead of cash. Jimmy Napier, one of my other mentors, you know James, he taught me, always ask, what are you willing to accept other than cash? I always ask that because I want to know right up front. Are you willing to accept a car, a boat? How about going on a cruise? How about, instead of giving them a down payment, they want a $10,000 down payment. Could you send them on a cruise that costs you $6,000 and save money? But you give them what they want. Could you do that? If you're smart, you can, yeah. Give them what they want. We've supplied cars. I used a 1990 Chevy Silverado pickup I had years ago to buy a house from a brick mason. He had a free and clear house. He was moving to another town. He wanted my truck to haul his trailer full of tools. And we negotiated back and forth. So I went to the local bank and they said my truck was worth $4,000. I went to talk to him. See, I went prepared. He said, I give you 12,000 credit for it. Really? Okay. So he took 12,000 off the price of the house for my $4,000 truck. Was that good? But then, see, I'm smart enough to know he's moving to another house. So I said, well, are you buying that house on time payments? And he said, yeah. I said, how much is the payment? Well, the payment on the new house was less than what I would be paying him on this house. So I said, how about this? I'll write a check for the exact amount of your payment on your new house every month. So it's like it's free and clear to you. Oh, does everybody understand that? I gave him the same amount he'd have to pay, but it's less than what I would have been paying. But now the truck, the 12,000 covered the down payment, 3,000, and gave me credit for $9,000 worth of payments on this house. Got to understand, this was a few years ago, and it was in Michigan. But I started making payments. We worked it all out, but everybody won in that situation. So it didn't take cash. That allowed me to rent it, to get the money to make the payment on his new place. You always want to think about that. Structure paper for future income. Anybody here understand notes? Notes and mortgages? You need to know about notes and mortgages. It's another form of income. You carry paper, Dan? When you sell a property and you sell it on terms, you're carrying the paper, the note and the mortgage. I love paper. Paper's another income stream. There's only one bad thing about it. Well, maybe two if they stop paying, but the one major thing I don't like about it that I like rental houses more than paper is the rental house goes on forever. The paper eventually pays off. But you just replace it with something else. You want to keep those income streams coming. You can use paper to do that. Why real estate? Real estate can give you predictable, safe, dependable, inflation-adjusted income from rent. You get appreciation, that's increased value due to inflation, depreciation, a write-off against income because of the property's age. That's that 27 and a half years. Reduced taxable income allows you to be in lower tax bracket because no FICA taken out of your income. You're automatically saving 15.6% on rent. Rent is the least taxed income of any type in this country. A job income is the highest taxed income. And that gives you more money left after taxes going to your pocket. I like real estate, but I like keeper properties. When I buy a property, when you have a base of properties and you find one that's better than the worst of your keepers, depending on the tax consequences, I may move that better one in and sell off the worst of my best. That makes sense? But when I sell, I want to sell it because it's an income property to another investor. I want to take payments. I built my whole life around payments because when I started, I couldn't borrow money. I had no credit. My credit stunk. I had no money. So I, from the beginning, learned to live on the income from that. But I also had my job as a union pipe fitter. So if you start planting these seeds that pay you monthly, that pays for your asset, and hopefully it gives you some extra cash flow, you're going to have a lot better life knowing someday those are paid off. And if you don't live long enough, someone in your family will enjoy. And if you put them into land trusts, like I do, my kids know I'm going to control from the grave. See, today on this particular house, my son Lon is the contingent beneficiary. So if I die, it just goes to him. But he don't know that, see. But if Lon makes me mad, I go to the contingent beneficiary page, Denise. Next week, Denise makes me mad, Wendy. See, I can control them. They know it, but they have no idea they're contingent beneficiaries on anything. The minute you tell your kids what you're going to give them, they turn into lazy, worthless bums because they know it's coming. I talked to a lady at Robin's Bootcamp this weekend. She wants to tell her kids everything, and she wants to create a fortune and tell them. I said, do you think that's the smartest move you can make? I've seen it happen in other families. You're not coming up to hit me, are you? Okay, I just don't want to ruin my kids and grandkids. If they get something, they get it. But I'm not going to tell them ahead of time because I want them to work for what they get, just like I did. This is a picture of Pete's. This is the benefits of real estate. It says at the bottom, if a party does not believe that he or she will receive promised benefits, there will be no deal. That's true. But what is it you're looking for? This is a very important drawing. What is it you want from real estate? See, most people just want to buy any house they can find just to make money. Bad. That's never going to get you to where you want to go. You have to have a specific plan to get to where you want to go. Who in here wants growth? We all want growth. Who wants profits? But see, that's fix and sell. Pay a lot of taxes. Who wants the thrill of management? Huh? Dan, us old people, we need to keep our hands down. We're sick, I know. But wait a minute, management. How about some of you who don't have any money? Could you offer to manage a property that needs management skills for a time frame and use that as the down payment on the house if you don't have any money? Of course you can. I did. I've done that. I've done the rehab to a property. The owner furnished the material. I did the rehab because I was a builder. I had a building license. I would do that, keep track of my hours, and that was my down payment. So can anyone else do that? If you have a skill, what if you're an accountant? What if you, whatever you do, could you offer that to a seller and use that as part of your down payment, or the whole down payment and maybe some of the payments? You have skills, and until you get established, use your skills. We've got a friend that owns a parcel of land in New Hampshire. She lives here. She was broke. Great lady. Some guy come along and made her an offer on her property up in New Hampshire. He offered her a laptop computer for that acreage in New Hampshire. And if you've been to New Hampshire, you know it's just cliffs. And she took the deal. She traded a parcel of land for a laptop computer. That was a hell of a good deal for her. Why? Well, what does vacant property do for you? Nothing. You pay taxes on it. She didn't have the money to pay the taxes. With the laptop computer, she created a paralegal business that she now has several people working for her. That laptop allowed her to generate income where the lot cost her income. You see, benefits are very, very important. Amortization. What is amortization?
Isn't that like the period when a loan is paid off?
Amortization is the pay down of your note every time a payment's made. It amortizes. So as you make a payment, a portion. Hey, buddy, if you can't make it by 9, come whenever you can. Oh yeah, he's been here before. How about use? Anybody ever want to move into a house? Is that a benefit of real estate? Sure. Yeah. Is that what? Here's what I'm teaching my grandkids. Okay? If IRS section 121 says that as long as you live in a house any 2 of the last 5 years, you can take up to $250,000 or $500 for a couple tax-free. So what I want them to do, their first house, I want them to buy a fixer-upper. Move in. Fix it. Live in it 2 years and a day, sell it. Take all the gain, put that into a nicer house that needs work. Fix it. Live in it 2 years and a day. Take all the bigger profit, put it into a nicer house. Can they eventually have a nice chunk of money in their bank tax-free? Yeah, I would much rather teach my grandkids that than work your job. Just food for thought. Profits, we all want the profits. Tax benefits. Does anybody here need tax benefits? Yeah, see, like Pete Fortunato taught me, when he got started in real estate, he was making $4,000 a year. He didn't have a big need for tax benefits, right? But you're going to find people that you're going to buy the house from that got tax problems. They're in a high tax bracket. You can sit outside. There's one up here. Oh, you got one? Okay. You see, I do the example, and this is just an example. I want you to let me do this. Let's say you find a seller in a high tax bracket. He bought a house for $150,000 10 years ago. Okay, is that clear? Not bad. Okay, now he's rented that for the last 120 months, made a nice cash flow. So if I come along and offer him a profit, what's going to happen to that? He's going to lose close to 40% of it, right? He's already got tax problems. So what if I come along? Now, I know this is a ridiculous offer. I want you to get the concept. I offer him 110,000. Might he take that? Hello? Why would he take that? Well, no, here. If he accepted that, he took a $40,000 loss that he can use against other income to save tax dollars, right? Could that be a benefit to him? Then I would take the 110,000. Anybody got a calculator? Divide 110 by 500. How much? 220. So if I offered him 500 a month for 220 months, what else did I just do for him? $110 divided by 500 for 220, that's zero interest. Did I just give him no taxes on that deal and a $40,000 write-off against other properties he had? Could that be a good thing for someone in a high tax bracket? Did everybody see what I did? Make the payment. You see, interest is taxable. I'm paying him 110. He'll never get to his base of 150. So there's no profit, no capital gains on that deal. Now, if I'd have paid him 160, he'd have paid capital gains on 10 profit. If I'd have put interest in the payment, he'd be paying taxes on that. He's already getting killed in taxes. What if I just give him the 150 and divided it by 500 for 300 months? It's still just up to base, no capital gains. It's no interest. Does that make sense? See, you do a deal based on what the seller's needs are.
So when you say no interest, that $500 a month, he doesn't pay any taxes on that?
No, because you only pay taxes above your base, what you paid for it. So I took 110,000, divided it by 500 a month, which I pulled out of air. That's 220 months. See, if I say I'll give you so much per month until paid, that means zero interest. When I'm talking to a seller, I never mention interest, never. Because if they want interest, I've got to lower the price to compensate for it. We're going to go through a whole bunch of that tomorrow. Did everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Talking about when you're negotiating, you want to negotiate to give the seller what it is they want. All right. The main paperwork components of every creative seller financing deal is a note. See, I signed all of these documents for years, had no idea what they were. They laid them in front of me, I signed them. You know, because they're the professionals. So a note, a written instrument that acknowledges a debt and a promise to pay. That word promise is very intriguing. Is that promise guaranteed money in the bank? No, no. So because it's just a promise, but it's not guaranteed, you got to have a mortgage or a deed of trust. A written instrument that creates a lien upon real estate as security for the repayment of a specific debt, most commonly known as the note. See, the mortgage or the deed of trust simply says, if you don't pay on the note as promised, this is how we're going to take it away from you. Very, very important. A land contract, agreement for deed, or a contract for deed. Where I grew up in Michigan, we did everything on land contracts. Ohio, land contracts are still used. Now, the difference between an agreement for deed and a land contract, or a contract for deed and a land contract. A land contract, you pay the seller every month. When the last payment's made, you get the deed. With an agreement for deed, you got to pay 20% of the amount owed, and then you get the deed, but they keep their thumb on it in the form of the note and the mortgage to make sure you pay. Now, usually somebody says, well, how do you know they're going to pay when you sell to them? I want to show you something. Are these too boring for you? I'm just checking. Years ago, I bought an 8-cabin resort on a lake. Bought it on a land contract. How this was purchased, the original owner sold the property to John May. John May sold the property. Vern May sold it to Larry. Larry sold it to John Hedinga. John Hedinga sold it to Kathy. Can you see all of that? The original owner sold it on land contract to John May. Okay? John May increased the price a little bit, sold it to Vern Metcalf on land contract. John May increased the price a little bit, sold it to me on land contract. I increased the price, sold it to John Hedinga on a land contract, and he sold it to Kathy Cordini on a land contract. Every month, Kathy paid John, John paid Larry, Larry paid Vern, Vern paid John, he paid the original every month. Nobody ever missed a payment. So if you don't trust anybody in this world, in my land trust training, I get people, who do you have as a trustee? I don't trust anybody. And my response is always, you need to work on your people skills if you don't have anybody you trust. See, doing these deals, if they have equity coming, they'll usually pay. This makes sense? Yes?
When you sell it on the land contract, the interest that the person that's buying it is paying, do they get to write it off on their taxes?
Of course.
Even though the deed is still in
Of course, we each do, because we each bought it. We have a basis, and we're paying interest in some cases. So of course, everybody gets to write it off. What do they use in, you're from where? Do they use land contracts there? Yeah, see, I like land contracts, but once a land contract is written, then they file a memorandum when I do an agreement for deed and they want 20% paid off the original amount, then they give you the note and the mortgage. But because I provide 99% of the paperwork for the deals I do, it's funny. My agreement for deed says I only have to pay 5% before I get the deed. See, it has nothing to do with tradition. It has to do with whatever we seller and buyer agree to. Any questions?
It's freezing in there, Larry.
Huh?
It's freezing in there.
Grow up, be a man.
I have a question. About the agreement for deed, you said you paid 20% before you got the deed and then there's a note attached to it?
No. You have a note and a mortgage, but you don't get the deed until you got at least 20% of the amount owed paid. Then they give you the deed. Yeah, because if you get the deed, then they have to foreclose. And they still do, but it's a different. Put your little Jackie on. Okay. You're going to take a beating this weekend, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. You guys want to take a break?
Yeah.
You spend a lot of money, you travel long distance, and you want to take breaks. Okay, go ahead.
Larry?
Yeah.
One point that I always make is just that if you want a part-time job, one of the best part-time jobs is moving to a house and fix it up on the weekend. Where can you find? I have a friend that really does live in Michigan. He has a $300,000 house, free and clear, that he's done over the years. And